If you're a mum or dad, you'll know how we all treasure moments like your little one taking their first steps and speaking their first word. But my next guest missed out on milestones in their baby boy's first year after a terrible mistake changed their lives. Reilly Nevin was born on the 19th of May 2010. For proud parents Julie and David, it was the happiest day of their lives. He was the baby they'd always wanted. The next 7 months were perfect. Then in December that year, their world was turned upside down when they were wrongly accused of abuse and Reilly was taken away by social services. And Julie and David began a desperate fight to bring their son home. Well, Julie and David are here with family law solicitor Marilyn Stowe. Nice to see you all. Thank you very much for coming in. Julie, this all started with a bruise on Reilly's face on Christmas Eve. Tell us what it looked like and how he did it.
Well, when he got out of bed that morning, out of his cot, he had lines on his face, which did, I have to say, look a bit like finger marks. We thought they were the cot bars. So I took him to the doctors and he basically checked him over and said not to worry, and that was that on that particular day, on Christmas Eve 2010.
And how did he do it, do you think?
It could have been on, well, we thought the cot bars, it could have been on the leg of the sofa, or any of his toys.
But you ended up at one point in hospital. Somebody in the hospital environment thought that perhaps, you know, it wasn't an accident and that you or David might have been responsible. Just tell me how you feel when you suddenly realised that the finger was being pointed at you and you were under suspicion of hurting Reilly.
I think because they wouldn't let us draw the curtains in the hospital, that obviously gave suspicion to us that they thought we had done it. And obviously measuring my hand while they were measuring the bruises on Reilly's face was another sort of trigger in my mind. But we just went, we did everything that they asked, really, in hospital.
And when you realised, Julie, that this was it and they were going to take him away from you, gosh, chokes you up.
We were both devastated.
It was, you're just numb. You can't explain it. You just leave the hospital, go to the car. You don't see, feel or hear anything.
And what was home like without Reilly?
Empty. We kept nothing in the house apart from his name on his bedroom door. There wasn't a toy left. We just couldn't face anything in the house at all.
I suppose what was the saving grace, Julie, is that instead of him going into foster care while all this was sorted out, your mum had him and you were able to visit him, weren't you, on a daily basis? And that must have been comforting, was it, that at least he wasn't with a stranger?
Oh, yeah, it was. We could see him every day, supervised, just wasn't allowed to stay over. It was so... I was grateful that my mum and dad were, able to look after him. Otherwise, I just don't think I would have handled it as calmly as I did, really.
And you missed a few milestones, didn't you, David?
Oh, yes. First steps, first proper words.
Teething.
Teething, yeah.
Crawling, walking.
Sleepless nights, none of them.
So how did it feel when you found out that there was no evidence and that little Reilly was coming home?
So relieved. Oh, you just wouldn't believe how grateful we were.
He's a gorgeous little boy. We can see him, actually. Look at him. There he is. He's a cheeky little boy, isn't he?
Oh,
yeah.
That must have been so nice. Well, we've got a statement from Northport Talbot County Borough Council. They say that we're taking safeguarding of children extremely seriously. We're satisfied that all appropriate actions were taken in this case. Well, let's bring Marilyn into the chat. Marilyn, of course, the child, there's Reilly. Of course, a child has to be absolute priority to be protected. But what can parents do if they find themselves in the position that Julie and David did, wrongly accused of hurting their child?
They did everything right. They cooperated fully and the process had to take its course. The local authorities get a lot of stick. They're overworked, understaffed, and they have a duty to act where they reasonably believe there is a risk of significant harm to a child or significant harm has been done to a child. They only have to reasonably believe, and therefore they have to take those steps.
But it takes a long time, Marilyn, doesn't it? It seems to take a long time for Julie and David to...
The process takes a long time. It does take a long time. It goes through a series of hearings. But as we were discussing before we came on air, it was the courts, it was the judge who finally got a grip of this and sorted it out. But what parents should do is read up online, go to the CAFCAS website, go to DirectGov and find out what is happening. Cooperate, go and see a solicitor, it's free, you're not means tested for this. Get a proper solicitor who's specialising in this and get it sorted.
Well, as you said, David and Julie did all the right things. I mean, David and Julie, how do you hope that telling your story, which is a very emotional story, how do you hope it'll help other people who are watching the programme today?
Well, we hope that there is, to show people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for some cases, which luckily enough ours is, but we want to try and get a support group going so that people aren't on their own when they're just told by the police and duty social workers.
And just finally, David, I mean, looking at Reilly there, he looks absolutely perfect, but he's not really been affected by this, has he? Because he saw you every day. And...
No, he's quite normal. He won't call me Dad. He calls me David, but that's part of that.
He calls you David?
Yeah. Apart from that, it creates a problem in nursery the first time you pick him up.
Well,
hiya, David, he says.
I've been honoured to meet him today. Thank you for telling your story, and thank you to you, Marilyn.
Thank you.